Let's hope nobody accuses me of clickbaiting after seeing the exact rules of this run. Wait, you're already recording? That's the joke I figured I should start the video with. That was before I actually started this run, and this happened. I lost the Emerald Grove defense, which I called unlosable in the last video, multiple times. I don't even remember how often, cause I stopped counting once it got too embarrassing. How was the difference between expectation and reality so big? Good question. The main cause was due to a lack of experience with solo runs, with this being my first one, causing me to make a few wrong decisions. The other reason is that I underestimated one of the changes this challenge run made. But more on that when we get to that part. Starting the challenge run, we can't just go into custom difficulty, because it doesn't allow us to activate honor mode rule set, which enables legendary actions, meaning that we start a run in honor mode difficulty. In the character creator, I make a Dwager ranger with focus on strength for shafts and better melee capabilities. But don't worry, I already have planned something for range combat. For appearance, I just press the reroll button a few times. Same for the guardian. The name will stay a Tev. I suck at naming things, okay? On the Naughty Dog, I probably should explain the rules, considering I haven't done that yet. Firstly, Lone Wolf, meaning I can't have any other companions inside my party. Secondly, hardest difficulty possible, meaning I have to go into custom difficulty as fast as possible and change the settings to make things as hard as possible. I started the run by picking up Us, mainly so that I can use him as a backup plan during Act 3. After that I ran into Lysel starting the first encounter. Lysel just fled like a coward while I was handling the fight easily. With the fight done, Lysel and Death jumped into the abyss, allowing me to enter custom difficulty. I started by decreasing the proficiency to -1, which also affects the accuracy of weapons. Then I disabled death save, which I only now while editing realize is a positive change, but considering I have no way of reviving death, it really shouldn't make a difference. I continued by maximizing long rest supply and trader prices, making this run very gold heavy. I also wanted to disable multiclassing, but the game doesn't allow me to, meaning that I just have to pretend that it's off. And lastly, I set perception checks as well as a few other things about checks, add NPC health to hidden. The last one hides only the numbers, letting you still see the HP bar. I feel like if it was changed to be permanently full, not allowing you to see the enemy HP in any way, it would be way cooler. After that, I just rushed through the Naughty Dog with nothing worth being mentioned happening. Now Act 1 begins, and with that, the mistakes that caused me to lose the Emerald Grove defense. After sneaking past the intellectual hours, I can already showcase what it was.
Excellent company to keep. Your quite significant loss.
Who noticed the mistake? Exactly. I didn't kill Gale or recruit him for that sake. The problem is that I don't get any XP that I would get if I recruited or killed him. And due to me doing this with all of the companions, I didn't get enough XP for level 2 and attempted the Emerald Grove defense at level 1. After a few failed attempts, I decided to get level 2, which I did by going to the chapel and telling the adventurers there to leave. Which gave me luckily enough XP. With this I unlocked Hunter's Mark and Gooberry, as well as the 2-weapon fighting style. With this power boost I was able to win the Emerald Grove defense and make some progress. After walking into the Blighted village, I convinced the goblins that I'm not the threat and beelined into the burning village, freeing the 2 people that were trapped in the building.
The fire! Hurry! Get this thing off me!
As a reward for that, I got the Sparky Points weapon. I also leveled up to level 3, giving me access to a subclass. I at first wasn't sure which one to pick, but I decided to go with Hunter for the additional attack of Wardbreaker. From here I went to the real reason why I got here, the Zhentarim hideout, because I wanted to buy an item from there, but first I would have to complete the quest. Considering that I am only level 3, I didn't think that I would be strong enough to clear the quest, meaning that I decided to go and get some more XP by going back to the chapel and clearing out the remaining encounters. It didn't work. With combat not being an option, I decided to get the XP from exploration. I started by going into the goblin camp, encountering Shadowheart on the way, letting her join my camp, but not my party.
That voice you just felt, I don't know how.
I also went to the Paladins of Tyr, picking up Scratch on the way, and accepted the quest to kill Karlach.
Please, keep your distance.
But she is definitely way more deadly than the Paladins of Tyr told me. This made me think twice over using two-weapon fighting style, because I was largely using bonus actions for potions instead of offhand attacks. This caused me to swap out my dual swords for the sparky points and a shield. With nothing else being an option, I decided to go and kill the goblin leaders. I mean, the 3 boss fights have to be easier than the Karlach fight, right?
There's a time and a place for...
Yes, they are. Starting with God, who I let me brand first before she invites me into her room. Sadly, it doesn't go as well as expected because she takes the roleplaying a bit too serious and instead of just handcuffing me, locks me up entirely.
You're gonna be my new pet.
Okay, that's not what we agreed on.
But your giblets make for a tasty
Luckily, someone realized it was going too far and rescued me. This gives us God's shield, which I will be using for a large part of Act 1. Next up there is Minthara, which you already saw how it went. I don't feel capable of fighting Ragsliff currently, especially because I don't know a good cheese thread I could use against him. So instead I just free Rolo and take a long rest. Luckily after that Withers appears in my camp, letting me swap out Bounty Hunter for Ranger Knight and dual wielding for dueling. After that I tackled some normal encounters like the one inside the chapel that didn't work earlier. But thanks to heroism from God's shield it works out. Still closer than comfort at times. After that I encountered some give. Hey listen.
Stay put and keep your lips sealed.
Sure, just don't mess it This time, I talk.
Imbecile, stay back.
I really thought it would work out. 4 times the charm. 4th? Okay, at least the 4th time worked.
Unlikely you'd be successful. But it costs me nothing to spare your sorry life.
Back to some side encounters, like rescuing Barkis, which gave me level 4. This gave me 2 extra points in strength. I also killed Karlach. It still took a few attempts though. At this point I considered myself to be strong enough to complete the Zhentarim quest, starting with the Gnoll boss fight. Luckily I was able to convince them to go after the people in the cave first at the start of the 2nd round, which is good cause I nearly died during the 1st round. Inside the cave I was able to convince the Gnoll boss to attack the other Gnolls with me. During this fight I helped him win the fight while still trying to let him take as much damage as possible. Sadly he didn't take enough damage to kill him in a 1v1, causing me to kill him through skill checks after a few attempts.
Your tadpole wriggles, contented, as she tears at...
Interesting. The host is...
This rewarded me with 2 things, illicit powers and the Shattered Blade, giving me somewhat consistent healing during combat. As for the quest, I picked up the shipment and brought it back. This allowed me to buy the Titan String Bow, which does bonus damage based on my strength bonus. At least I would be able to buy it if I had enough gold. Luckily, it only needed a few combats and a bit of grave robbery to get the money. Volo also got ready for my surgery, giving me a new eye and see invisibility. With most of my build for Act 1 being completed, I decided that it was time to take on the last goblin leader. It went about as well as you might have expected. But after using a bit more explosive strategy, I only had to deal with the goblins. This really wasn't too bad anymore, because I was able to heal up from any damage by just attacking. Winning this fight allows me to take a large amount of gold and supply, as well as a tadpole from Rexliv, through which I unlocked Psionic Backlash. Time for a party with the Thieflings. Guess who decided to spawn in the next morning? Helsin. Please, can somehow explain how he was not only to get out of the goblin camp alone, but also find my camp with nobody besides the Thieflings and Shadowheart, who were already at the camp, knowing where it was?
I am in your debt.
I wish I had recorded my live reaction, because there's no way I can do it again, especially not with my lack of acting skills. After coming down, I decided to kill all the other goblins that were remaining, starting with the ones at the gate. Thanks to the amulet I got from God's bedroom, I was able to use Misty Step to get the high ground, trivializing this fight. As for the enemies in the goblin camp, I just led them back to this place and used the high ground advantage from the last fight. From here I went into the Underdark and Omilum's quest, accidentally walking into a boss fight, getting absolutely destroyed, then walking back to Omilum. As reward I got a unique psionic ability, which lets me survive death. I don't think it's ever worth using. After that what? Oh, you want to know why it's not worth using? Because it uses an entire action, causing me to be unable to attack during this turn, and skipping a turn to survive one more attack just ain't worth it. After that I again decided to get some XP, this time to get to level 5. Besides doing side encounters, I also adventured into the next region and went to the Githyanki Crash. Once there I stole some parasites, with which I unlocked Call the Weak and Ability Drain. And I used the crash for purification. Luckily I was able to win all the checks and didn't get any debuffs. It just took a few retries. With level 5 and with that extra attack and the Traeger's invisibility unlocked, I felt powerful enough to take on some of the harder fights. How wrong I was. For the owlbear fight, I first recruited the cult members outside the cave, so that I wouldn't have to fight the two owlbears solo. They didn't help enough. One of them even lived longer than me while letting me tank all the damage. After some other attempts ended the same way, I decided to adjust my strategy a bit. Don't worry, not every fight will be solved by using explosives. There aren't enough of them for every fight. Seeing that most fights are still going to be a problem, I decided to get the missing piece for my build, the Gloves of Dexterity. Sadly, the increased vendor prices really get noticeable. Luckily there's an easy solution: crime. Pickpocketing to be precise. Which is a very easy way to get high amounts of gold. Just go to a vendor, steal gold, items, or whatever you want and profit. Just don't forget the quick save in case anything goes wrong. After multiple hours of just pickpocketing, I was finally able to buy the Gloves of Dexterity. This lets me ignore the missing armor. I swapped the rogue for the pickpocketing and had to take it off. This lets me remove the points from dex and put them into strength and wisdom, while also increasing my dex, giving me more initiative and better accuracy with my bow. With nothing to do anymore in the overworld besides some boss fights, I attempted to venture forth into the Underdark, with emphasis on attempted. As it turns out, while at lower levels normal encounters aren't too bad thanks to my gear, at higher levels the gear alone isn't enough and some more strategy is required. For this Traeger encounter I started by hunting down Colette throughout multiple fights. Once I was able to kill her, I picked up Glad and let him resurrect her. With me now having a boss under my control, the Traeger stood no chance. With this done, I moved on into the Grymforge. There I talked with some
Night Duck, you
Twaga
still
so that they
standing
would help
about?
me fight the Nier
Get on
and the
it.
other Twagas. This gave me enough allies that the missing party wasn't really noticeable anymore, and this fight wasn't more difficult than in most normal playthroughs. After the fight, I convinced the remaining
Hear me
Twagas to
argue.
release the slaves,
Your
which should
mouth's
be
got the
important
might to
during
back
Act
it.
2 and 3.
I'm
Farkas
gonna
in
try my luck.
particular, I even let stay at my
Have a
camp.
better chance of
I even was able to loot Nier, even though he was in lava. It didn't seem too safe though. If I actually stood in lava, it probably would have been even more dangerous than the last 3 boss fights combined. Starting with the easiest one. No, not that one. That one. Believe it or not, Grim actually is the easiest of the boss fights. How? That's how. It just has a cheese where the hardest part is being patient enough to sit through a 20-minute fight of just shooting arrows. With Grim down, I was able to craft the Elementium shield as well as the scale mail. Next up, on the Ether. Or at least that's what I thought I should do next. You saw how it went. Old person really can destroy a solo run. I even attempted blowing her up, but because I didn't know if I would need explosives for the Inquisitor fight, I decided to fight her later. I even tried to respec into something with multiclassing, which I said I wouldn't do. Lucky it didn't work, so no problem there, right? Well, no, because I also used this build for the Inquisitor fight, to cheese it with minor illusion and lure the enemies towards the cliff and knock them off with Thunder Wave. I only was able to knock off a few normal enemies. And her. Her goons were killed by a cloud of daggers and magic missile. Once I realized on the next day that I accidentally used multiclassing, I decided to just accept it and continue this run. Mainly because I was 2 fights away from finishing the recording, and because the entire fight would have gone the exact same way if I just put all the levels into sorcerer instead of multiclassing. I also wasn't able to go back because of the single save setting, which I can't turn off. Back to the Inquisitor fight, where I decided to try some different builds, starting with a throwing Eldritch Knight. Continuing with a Gloomstalker Ranger. And finishing with Tavern Brawler Monk. Why didn't I think of that one earlier? With that, it's time to blow up Ether. But first I drink Elixir of Vigilance so that I come first in the turn order and don't get surprised. Now it's time. Oh, come on, how did she live that? Anyways, after she got damaged from the burn, she was ready to negotiate, wanting to trade me a stat improvement for the girl. Considering that I planned on using many
If you're
different builds, I
gloating
declined
now,
and took the
just
girl.
wait till you hear my...
I also resurrected a man and gave him to her.
I don't even know if
With this, we have reached the ending of this video. If you want to see how this journey continues, or see the other runs I've planned, subscribe.
Even in the
See you
Underdark,
next
I never
time.
saw gloom.